pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to the February 7th Board of Public Affairs meeting. First on the agenda, approved minutes from the January 17th regular meeting and the January 26th special joint meeting. We've all been presented with those minutes. Just any additions, corrections, discussion? Not, I'll entertain a motion to accept both as written.
I'll move to accept both.
I'll second.
Tom?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette? Yes. Karen? Yes.
Next on the agenda will be a hearing of public concerns. Seeing none, we'll move on. Next on the agenda will be a motion to approve a letter of support.
Board, back in January, you joined council and administration for a meeting with the Port Authority and also Frontier Properties for a 43-unit senior living facility off Fountain Grove Drive. With that, they are going to apply for $1 million in tax credits through OFA, and they have asked for a letter of support both from council and Board of Public Affairs. If you have any questions, again, on the drawings, I do have a copy we can look over and pass through, but we're really excited about the potential senior housing. The name of it will be Fountain Creek Senior Villas, and we should know end of May whether that funding was able to be secured for them. So I would respectfully ask that you join the City of Bryan in a support letter for them.
And I thought it was a fantastic idea. I guess I had never thought about it. I'm sure there's a lot of other people who hadn't either. I think a lot of the reasoning behind this senior complex was to free up,
Our family
let's say,
members.
the folks in the upper echelon of age. You know, like my house, what do I need that big house for? I'd rather move in one of them. That frees up some housing that we desperately need that. And I just thought it was a fantastic idea.
I agree. It's a logical solution to some of our problems.
Yeah.
I agree. Needed.
They're very nice looking places.
They are,
Very attractive community too.
yes, and in this drawing, they have a community dog park and community building for their residents there, so.
I just wanted to clarify one thing.
Yes, sir.
When I've heard the description as property, and it says that it's borders Portland Street, and I just want to make sure that it does not exit on Portland Street,
Does
that
not.
it does exit on County Road C or Fountain Grove Drive.
Yeah, there's one
So people
entrance
know that.
exit, that's absolutely true. There's not going to be an entrance exit at all. It's not in their plans, it's not in their, and they knew that we were potentially looking to do that for fire safety, but they have no interest in having it come in or out of Portland. Should that be
And
extended?
it's privately owned, it's, you know, doesn't involve the city, that's all maintained by them. And, yeah, I thought it was a great idea.
And again, I visited their Delphus facility and it's very well maintained. Even 12 years later, they look new.
That's what impressed me.
Absolutely. Me too.
So you need a motion.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette? Yes. Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
You signed it before the motion. You were so in support of that.
I am in support of it. That's a great idea. Next on the agenda will be a resolution. Lori, could you please number and read?
Resolution number 3, 2023, A resolution authorizing Carrie Schlade as delegate and Tom Sprow as alternate to represent the City of Bryan as a member of the Board of Directors of the Ohio Municipal Electric Association in 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Sprow, for stepping up.
Only if need be, right?
I'll do my best, Mr. Sprow.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
We need a motion to approve.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve. Resolution number 3.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Tom?
All set.
Next on the agenda will be to accept the resignation of a power plant employee.
Good evening. This evening, I am presenting Skylar Bergman's resignation to you. His last day was February the 3rd.
Any comments? Questions? I'll approve the motion to accept the resignation with regret.
I'll make a motion to accept with regret.
A second.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda be a request to hire a water department employee.
Yes, this evening, we would like to request to reclassify Stuart Martin as the engineering assistant to a probationary water distribution operator trainee. Of all the candidates that we interviewed, he was the best candidate for the position, internally and externally. He has gained knowledge of our water distribution system by working in the engineering department. We want to make this effective in a couple of weeks, so he has some transition time to go from engineering to water. We may go back and forth a little bit yet for the transition process, but we're excited to have him join us over there, and he's looking forward to joining the crews. After he was, in his words, he's not an inside cat, so he's looking forward to going back outside and working more.
He's always wanted to be an outside cat.
This should make me happy.
Yeah, he's excited.
Good.
Betty's pretty happy.
Oh, yeah. Sure he is.
I'd like to make a motion then. Transition Stuart over to probationary water distribution operator training.
I'll second it.
Karen?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Next on the agenda will be a request to hire an engineering department employee.
Yes, we are requesting that Todd Stimpley be reclassified from a communications technician to a probationary engineering assistant project coordinator. And Todd has a diversified background in fiber and electrical, and he has experience in coordinating projects at BMU as well as previous employers. And in addition, he will also bring back locating abilities into the engineering department, which is something that has been missing. And upon some discussions with the current coworkers in the communications department, they would like him to continue the call rotation, so it's not just a two-person call rotation in the communications department. So pending some discussions with the IBEW, that will be our recommendation as well. But we wanted to get your approval before we have those discussions with the union.
Todd's a good guy. I'm sure he'll do well at whatever he decides to do. So I'll make a motion we approve.
I'll second it.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes,
Tom?
Yes.
thank you.
Maybe Jack.
Next on the agenda would be a 2022 year in review, communications and water.
Yeah, something I'm sure you're all looking forward to are these year in review presentations, so we'll try to get started with them. We're going to start out with the communications department. We're going to talk a little bit about the financial highlights. I'll talk about those, and then Joe will come up and talk about some of those projects as well. So starting off with this slide is basically an overview of the communications financials. Just so other people know, the 509 fund is for our operation and maintenance of our communication department. So we began 22 with a balance of just over $2 million. Our revenues were about $1.4 million, and our expenses were about $1.6 million, that giving us a net margin of $162,850 in the red. So this is much less than our anticipated budgeted loss amount by over 70% due to the discontinuation of our cable TV services on May 31st, 2022. We were able to transfer $47,000 over our capital reserve fund, which left us with an ending balance of around $1.86 million, which resulting in a net loss for the year of $208,850. Could have been much worse if we had not taken the action that we did. Moving on to the 535, our capital reserve fund. We began the year with a fund balance of $109,390. Our revenues for the year were $47,000 from the previous transfer that we just discussed in the 509. Our expenses were $43,872. This left us with a year-ending balance of $112,518. Leaving an ending net fund position of $3,128. Finally, our combined fund balances, we started the year with about $2.18 million, and we ended with almost, or about $1.97 million, netting a $206,722 in red. Again, I believe we could have been much worse off if we had not taken the actions that we did with the cable TV. So here's some more statistics. Looking at some of the communications, we can see that the sales by service in 2022. In 22, we had 52% of our sales came from our internet subscribers at $727,172. 39% came from our cable TV subscribers at $537,305. And finally, 9% of our sales came from, were $129,285 from our fiber customers. This slide shows subscriber numbers over the last 5 years. So cable TV had a loss of over 16% of its subscribers over the last 4-year period. Our internet subscribers were down 26% over the last 5 years, while our fiber subscribers had remained basically stable over that time frame. Our final statistics slide on this is total sales revenue our final statistics slide show over the total sales revenues over the last 4 years. This is a 40% decrease in revenues over the last 4-year period. from 21 especially to 22 alone was 35% decrease, mainly due to the loss of the cable TV. So what you see happening is basically we went from a $2.3 or $2.4 million business, which cable TV was. By eliminating the cable TV, we cut that in half. Along with that, what it doesn't show is that the large decrease in the expenses that we had due to programming fees and stuff like that. So, although our revenue is down, so were our the programming fees and everything else. So I mean, basically everything was just kind of cut in half. So in summary, BMU discontinued its cable service on May 31st, 2022. We will continue to closely improve our internet customer service as well with our reliability. We're going to closely monitor our finances over the upcoming years to make sure that where we need to be, and we're going to continue to use our skilled workforce to save in costs over the years. Any questions about the financials? Okay. All right, we'll let Joe take it over from here.
Good evening.
Hi, Joe.
Good evening. As Nate just mentioned, some of the projects we completed last year was discontinuing the cable TV at the end of May. And he laid out what the reasons for that was: programming cost, financial capital cost that would have cost us to upgrade the head end to go to that new phase for the earth station and all. So that slide, that will be the last slide going forward that you'll see on these presentations. On the HFC internet, which is what we still currently offer to residents of Bryan, the enhanced internet service with the 30 megabits, which is a higher package, then we still give the 10 megabits to those customers that don't need as much bandwidth. And we entered 2022 with 1,147 internet customers, and we're watching those numbers very closely, as Nate said, for budgetary purposes. We're watching our expenses and revenues very closely for that. Fiber projects, we worked on a lot of fiber projects last year. At East Wilson Street, outer ring upgrade was what I mentioned to you folks last year, where we actually, that fiber, for some of you that worked here before, that goes across the field past Titan Tar on that old 34-5 line, that is sitting there ready to be torn down when the pole line goes away. And we totally rerouted it down past Industrial Park Substation. We took the spur that went to Curtin, or to Daggett I should say, that has been removed, and it is fed a different direction now until that substation is decommissioned. The AMI fiber was a large project. We got the communications infrastructure installed, got that system up and operational, and was ready for meters when the electric department started installing them. And I'm pleased to say it's working very well, and we've had a lot of good success with that. The Curtin fiber upgrade, we installed a new fiber, a lot larger fiber into the Curtin sub, so we can install a lot of circuits for SCADA and for network connectivity. We also have one of our AMI gatekeepers is in that location, so it's actually using that to also backhaul meters in that section of town back to the head end. The solar field fiber project, late in the year, we had a modem out there from another provider that we needed to be done with that, and so we installed fiber out there, which also will give us a capacity for any future growth, such as if we had to install the AMI, the gatekeepers out that way, if we ever have to install any other fiber circuits out there, if some years down the road, if the utility ever develops that well field and installs wells or any other structures out there, we can now backhaul it back here to the main network. And I might add, that solar field project was a really group effort. We were working against terrible weather, crop on the field. The electric department went out after hours, literally, and set the pole line and helped us get that up. We never got done. I really thank them for that. Allied Molded Fiber Interconnect, as part of that East Wilson project, we needed to get Allied Molded routed around because we provide dark fiber circuits between plant 1 and plant 3 and have for years. So we got that new interconnect up and worked with them as a partner, and now we are still providing communications between those facilities. Brown Park service to 2 locations. There's a couple locations that they needed to get internet out to them, and we'll work with Ben and his team, and we got that installed for them. And so now Moore Park and soccer field, press box, concession stand, whatever you call it, we now have service to them as well, and that is cable modem service out there. We got 1 new fiber customer at 102 West Bryan. The attorney's office went in where the healthcare place used to be, and we installed them this year. On the network, as we said earlier, the engineering and installation of the AMI network, there's a lot of network functions that had to occur to bring that online, as you can imagine. And our team did a really good job with that and working with Eaton Corporation to get that done. And we acquired services from a new IP network support company. We no longer use Black Box that we used for years. We now use a company out of Toledo that's an Ohio-based, more local company, and they seem like they're really going to give us good service. And we started with them the first of the year. Maintained all the licensing for the BMU Network. There's a lot of software license and renewals that we have to pay for and renew every year to keep this network operating. And it's expensive, but you have no choice. The Frontier project, they installed new fiber trunk lines into our 2 locations where we have our call managers, and that is going to change our PRI from copper to fiber. And those 2 locations are the head end and the power plant. And those are backup call managers for our phone system. So if one goes down, the other one stays up. And we specifically have that so that we have redundancy at the utility and for the city side, and especially for fire and police. Engineering and budgeting for new communications building. We worked on that extensively, I still am, and to try to do something with that head end to get it ready to be able to add more equipment and to keep this network going for several years to come. The future plans, we intend to construct that new fiber optic inner ring this year downtown we've talked about, which will give a lot more capacity for the utility, for the city. Also, in part of that, we are going to add fiber into the power plant substation building, control building, so that when that substation is ready to go online, we will have the fiber network and the connectivity there that they can place that substation online with all the SCADA and communications. Water treatment fiber is going to be part of that. We're going to, that new ring that's really robust, backhauls all the way back to the head end, we're going to change water treatment over to that. And so our main core 2 locations there will be on our fiber network. And we also, with 3 water wells where we're setting the new generator, we're going to, in the spring, we're going to pull new communications and fiber to these 3 wells, and we will have those all. 2 of them will be on fiber and 1 of them will be on Ethernet that backhauls to to a network switch in one of the other wells, which will really improve the water department. Substation's main network upgrade. This year, we have an old network and substations that's been here since before I got here, and it's technology and optics now that doesn't match with what we have today. You can't interface it with it or anything like that. So we budgeted this year that all of the substations except for Daggett, we're going to change those over to the new equipment, which will give you a lot better performance, a lot more growth opportunities out there, what you do in the future. Daggett will stay the same, and it'll be fine until such time you decommission that sub. We're going to continue to broadcast BPA council meetings, just like we have. We actually have been working with a vendor contractor with the city side that we may be changing out some cameras and going with an Ethernet-based camera system rather than what we have now. And that will allow us to, we can actually remotely broadcast these meetings from this building on both locations, and that's what we're trying to do, so we can get out of that corner and that head end over there. The head end communication building upgrade, I've already mentioned that. Due to supply chain issues and the costs that have gone up 4 times per square foot since when we originally attempted to get this building constructed, we're going to upgrade what we have. I'm working on it as we speak, but we will leave the utility in good shape as far as that goes. You'll have a good, robust head end over there with backup power, redundant power sources, and everything else for the future. So, and hopefully this year we're going to try to remove the satellite earth stations out back and get that taken out, apart, disposed of, and take that ground back to its existing state before we built the head end several years ago. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Well, good evening. I'm going to start the year in review for the water department. We'll talk a little bit about the finances, and then I'll turn it over to Jimmy and let him talk about the projects. Basically just a financial overview for the water department. We can start in the 502 fund, which is the operations and maintenance. We began the year with a fund balance of about $2.7 million. We budgeted for revenues of about 2.6, and we ended the year at about 3.1 million in revenues. We'll see in a couple slides, part of that is our sales have increased slightly, but we also have a donation in there for the water tower painting, so that's why the actual number is higher than the budgeted. Expenses, we budgeted 2.2, the actual was 2.1 million, so our expenses were a little bit less than what we had anticipated. Left us with a net margin of about 953,000. We did make debt service payments, principal only, of 86,000, and then we budgeted to make a $620,000 transfer to the capital. The actual transfer to the capital there was 1.4 million. That's because in early 2022 we did the $620,000 transfer, and then here at the end of the year in the fall we did the additional 850,000, and that was so we could kind of get an early start in 23 with projects and ordering materials. That left us with a fund balance of 2.1 million, and then the change in the fund balance was a decrease of about 600,000. But keep in mind, we made that $850,000 transfer already. We moved to the capital. We began the year with about 714,000. We anticipated those revenues to be 620,000. We ended up with a little over 1.7 million in actual revenues in the capital. That was the $620,000 transfer, the $850,000 transfer, and then also the donation for the Air May water line. Expenses, we budgeted for $617,000. We ended the year just a little over $1 million. Part of that was the Air May water line project, and then also some of that was from the AMI project. We had costs that we anticipated in 2021, but due to those lead times and not receiving those meters, we actually paid those in 2022. So that's the increase there. The ending fund balance was $1.4 million, or an increase of about $743,000. Both of the funds combined, we began the year at $3.4 million. We ended the year at 3.5, so an increase of a little over $140,000. Just take a minute here and talk about debt service. In 2022, principal and interest payments were $122,000. If we looked at 23, you can see we're decreasing there a little bit down to $94,000. We'll be making the last payment for the South Walnut East South Street water main project. And then when we move to 24, there's a pretty big increase there. We're done with the South Walnut Street project, but now we're picking up the full principal and interest payments for the AMI system. Just a look at total cash comparison for the past 3 years. I don't know if you can see it, but the top line is green, that's 2022, the middle line is 21, and the bottom line is 2020. Just a couple things to note. In 2021 there, around May and June, you see that big increase, that big spike. That's when we received the loan proceeds for the AMI project. So that's why that's like that. If you look at 2022, around that same time frame of May and June, there's a slight increase there. That was the donation for the Air May water line project. And then when you move out to August and September, there's another slight increase, and that was the donation for the water tower painting. And then as we get towards the end of the year, in November and December, a lot of those big projects were finishing up and those invoices were coming in. Taking a look at treated water per month. Again, that green is 2022, if you can't see it. We started the first several months of the year better than the previous two, and then we kind of got in the middle part of the year there. We weren't quite as good as 2021, but we were better than 2020. And then again, we ended the year with more monthly treated water than we have the previous 2 years. This takes a look at water usage by class. So if we look at the red there, that is our free service, represents about 7% of our usage, or 26 million gallons. The green is our residential usage, 130 million gallons, or 36%. And the yellow is the commercial at about 69 million gallons, or 19%. And then our largest user, the industrial, at almost 140 million gallons, or 38%. Again, looking at usage by class, just a different way to look at it. One thing that kind of stands out on there is if you look at the industrial class on the left there, 2021, they were at 103 million. 2022, we were at 139 million, so there was quite an increase in industrial water use last year. Overall, 2022 was 366 million. It was a 10% increase from 2021. And then just a quick summary in the financial plan going ahead. We did have a 3-year rate plan that ended December 20th of 2021, so that was the last rate increase. We haven't had any since then. This past fall, we did work with John Courtney. He provided us with a draft revenue requirement analysis. We did review that. We didn't take any action with it. We've seen the sales were increasing. We also want to just continue to monitor our expenses and make sure we have enough sufficient funds for our O&M, our debt service, our capital improvements. And then lastly, take advantage of grant opportunities. I know this year in the water department, I think we're looking at 3 different grants, so we're excited about that. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Chair.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to begin the 2022 year in review with the water treatment side of things and move forward with distribution. At the lab in 2022, we analyzed 419 bacteria samples. This consisted of samples within the city and outside customers. Our operators were recertified by the Ohio EPA for bacteria analysis. This was a day event where the EPA came into our lab, made sure our operators knew how to collect a sample, run a sample, and read out the results as well. That day, 2 of our newer employees at the treatment plant were certified in the lab as well. Annually, we are provided a monitoring schedule from the Ohio EPA. Typically, this kind of changes a little bit, but also similar in some ways. So in 2022, we tested for disinfection byproducts, lead and copper, nitrate and nitrite, VOCs, and organics. All those samples were sampled from our lab analyst, and with those samples conducted, we met all Ohio EPA requirements. And when you typically meet all Ohio EPA requirements, you're granted a green license to operate. That means that you've met all the Ohio EPA requirements within your water system and the distribution system as well. One of the bigger projects at the treatment plant was the south pressure filter rehab. As you may know, back in 2020, All Service Contracting was the company that did the north filter, and we were able to get them in here in 2022 to do south filter. This south filter consists of 5 separate layers of rock, sand, and gravel. It's about 40 inches of filter media, and in total it's 3,800 cubic feet. The reasoning for this project is because that the original media inside these filters dated back to 1972. Another big project at the water treatment plant was the addition of the backup generator. What you see there is a 500 kW cat backup generator. This is something that was always requested by the EPA, and we got this in place. This provides reliable and consistent supply of safe drinking water for the citizens of Bryan's in a major power loss event. What you see at the bottom there at the generator, the black part, is a 1,000-gallon fuel tank. That provides us 29 hours of consistent runtime under full load, so that treatment plant would operate just like it does on a daily basis. We also purchased a 60 kW cat backup generator for our north well field out here. That's going to provide backup power for our 3 wells. That is currently on site, along with the automatic transfer switch. And like Joe said this spring, we're going to continue on running and landing the wire from and to the generator and the well houses. One of the bigger projects that had a lot of focus this year was the Bryan Water Tower painting. This takes part of a 10-year master service agreement that we signed with Suez. With that being said, they came in 2022 and inspected the interior and exterior of both the Bryan and Fountain City Tower. After the inspection report came back, it was noted that the Bryan Tower was first on the list and needed attention. So with that Bryan Tower, while under construction, it was pressure washed. It was painted with the base coat of white, and the bowl was painted red. And then the mural outlines were drawn onto the red tank. Once that was completed, we were fortunate to have Eric Henn come into town and complete his mural artwork as well. That tower was down for about 2 months during the process. Moving on to distribution main replacements. Our crews had 2 projects. The first one started at the 1000 block of Alpine Drive. This consisted of a little over 500 feet of 6-inch PVC water main, 1 fire hydrant, and 4 new services. And then we went on to the 500 and 600 block of East Bryan Street, which consists of 725 feet of 12-inch PVC water main, 1 new fire hydrant, and 15 new services as well. And 1 additional main replacements or additions that we had was the Air Mate project, which consisted of 2,381 feet of 8-inch PVC water main, 4 new fire hydrants, and 1 new service. When you add all the footage up of all the projects, we have over 3,600 foot of new water main within our system, which improves the water service and firefighting capabilities. Moving on to distribution system services and upgrades. Our crews installed 6 new services in 2022, along with 7 new fire hydrants. They responded to 94 water-related maintenance calls. And as annually, we conducted hydrant flushing, inspection, and winterization as well. For miscellaneous projects, our crews were able to demo the final 2 rental home properties. Those properties were near the water treatment plant and power plant. But they were able to pour the concrete pads for the generator sets at the water treatment plant and out here at the North Well Field. At the water treatment plant, we had to have an access road to the generator itself for maintenance capabilities. Our crews made an access road, and they also installed concrete bollards around the generator set itself. And then we also had a safety security fence put along on the outside of those bollards too. This picture to the right, that was probably the first day on site at the power plant. We assisted them with the grounding grid excavation. On top of that, Brian was the host of the OTCO backflow course. This was here in October. It was a week-long course where we provided hands-on education for about 15 different operators in the state of Ohio, and in-course classroom work as well. Also in the fall, we hosted the AWWA Northwest District meeting. This was hosted out at New Hope Church. This is an event where we typically have speakers come in and help with the continuing education with water personnel within the state of Ohio. We had just under 80 operators attend this meeting. Looking forward to the 2023's projects. With Well 7, we're planning on doing a rehab and also adding a backup generator on site. At the water treatment plant, we have High Source Pump 3 rehab. For our distribution system, South Lynn Street water main replacement, that's going to be about 2,500 foot of 12-inch new PVC water main. At the water treatment plant, we also have the red sand filter cleaning. This is conducted every 5 years, and 2023 is next for this project to happen. And also our crews will be busy with the new AMI meter install kicking off. We also have our saddle and service replacements. Treatment crews will be conducting fire hydrant painting, and we'll also be painting the Fountain City Tower as well. Any questions?
I just was curious, the new backup generator at the treatment plant,
Yeah.
was there a reason that we tied that to a 1,000-gallon fuel tank as opposed to setting it up for natural gas?
That was just beneficial for us on our side, just because of the resource that we have right down the road. All these new generators going on site, the one at the North Well Field and Well 7, those will be set up the same way.
The diesel generators are about half the cost of natural gas.
Are they? I just wondered, because when you mentioned about the 29-hour runtime? I mean, 29 hours is quite a long time.
Yeah. You know, we've been pretty fortunate where we've never been something like that, but.
And I know they're not getting diesel fuel away anymore.
Correct. And I just want to thank everyone in our department for what they do on a daily basis, and it takes everyone here in the departments to make these projects happen.
Jimmy, I have a question that doesn't pertain to this. I was going to ask you before and I forgot. The state of Ohio, I've been reading, seeing on the news occasionally, how they do monitoring of treatment plants and stuff. Like to check for COVID and stuff. I mean, are we part of that as far as the water part of it?
No, I typically see that on the wastewater side.
We're doing that through our
Yeah.
wastewater plant.
Okay, I knew they were doing it, but I didn't know how that affected our water. I mean, do we monitor for the bacterias?
No, we don't.
We
We've never
don't?
been
Okay.
notified. of
Being
that.
groundwater, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
stable, it's almost the
Yeah.
same constantly. And what you're testing for is the waste part of that water, so that's the only way they can detect it, is through that.
Maybe I just got confused with the water treatment.
Oh, that's-
Any other
Now let
questions?
Gary continue with engineering.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Just give a real quick thank you to the engineering department. Here's a list of just some of the projects they worked on this year. I think probably nearly every project that Joe talked about and Jimmy talked about for last year and this upcoming year, they play a part in it. So we certainly want to give them their credit as well in making all these projects happen. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Okay, next on the agenda will be a motion to pay the bills.
Make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette? Yes. Karen? Yes. Tom?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda will be comments from BPA and staff. Nate?
Yeah, I have a few things. We're going to continue our yearly review. At the next meeting on the 21st, we'll have the electric department in here talking about theirs and finishing it up. We split it up so we don't have everything if we do it all at once. And we were talking about the generators. This is an update on the Ohio EPA generator grant that Derek applied for. We did receive it. It was approved for $50,000. So this grant is for generators for well 7. We, of course, will have to cover the upfront cost, which we had budgeted for, and then we'll be reimbursed for that cost. So the generator will only cost us a couple $1,000s to put in. So, you know, thanks for doing a good job and getting that and getting it back. And it's good news. Anytime we can save over 50 grand is 50 grand. So
We'll take it.
Absolutely. And congratulations to Stuart and Todd on their new position. I wish them the best of luck over there. Thank the BPA. I think it's a great thing, affordable housing. I'm glad that you guys all support that. I think it's very important for our community, especially affordable. You know, I'm all about housing, period, but affordable housing is something that's near and dear to me. And lastly, I just want to thank all of our employees for the job that they did last year in 2022. You saw half the projects up here, everything that they did from the engineering department, communications, all of them. Water department employees, they do such a great job that a lot of times it can be unnoticed until you sit here and you go through them. So I want to thank all of our employees for a job well done last year.
Mayor. Lori?
Also, thank you.
Council, Mr. Benz. Joe? Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Two things. First of all, I'd like to request a motion to post for a power plant position. Since Skylar has resigned, we would like to post that. So if it's all right with the board, if they pass the motion so we can start that recruitment process, it would be appreciated.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second?
Jim?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette? Yes. Karen?
Yes. Thank you. And one more thing. KB would like to take the annual board picture at the next meeting on the 21st at 4:45, if everybody could be here by then. You won't be here? Then we'll shoot for the first meeting in March. If everybody can let us know, and we'll go from there.
Wear your school clothes.
Good school clothes.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. Mr. Sprow.
Oh, yes. Wish Scott all the best in his, whatever he's going to do next. And Stuart and Todd for their new positions, I guess. And thanks for the presentations. They were very good, very informative. We always learn something when we see these. And thanks you for those. That's it.
Ms. Ford.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the presentations. It's good to see a synopsis of what was done over the course of a year. I'm sure it took a lot of work to put that together, like always. Yes, Todd and Stuart, good luck in your new positions. I'm sure you'll both be very happy with those. And goodbye to Skylar. Good luck. And I think that's it as well.
Thank you. Annette?
Yeah, I'm going to just kind of piggyback on what Tom and Karen. Great job on the presentations. Good luck to Skylar. And congratulations also to Todd and Stuart on their new positions.
Jim?
Good luck to Todd. And Stuart, thank you. Thank you for the presentations. It was well done. And I think, Jimmy, you touched on about the employees, what a good job they do. And I know if you listen to these reports from the different departments, how the departments all work together to accomplish what we set out to do, I think it's a sign of a well-run operation. So we thank you for that. Thank the employees. That's all I got.
And I'd just like to echo what everyone else said, congratulations to Todd and Stuart for their internal move. Both good employees, so I'm glad we kept them there. Good luck to Skylar on his next endeavor. Sorry to hear he's leaving the plant, but it is what it is. That's about all I have. And with that, we'll be going into executive session to consider the employment and compensation of a public employee. With that, I would like to ask Lori, the mayor, Nate, Jackie, and the board to stay. And with that, we'll just take a recess and